Hello, DmAcc Hiring Committee. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Bill Hartman, obviously, and I want to come to DmAcc and teach ethics. A little about myself. I live in St. Louis. I'm from Chicago. I'm an ardent White Sox fan, and I admit to it. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan, and I'm an accomplished bubble hockey player. The game like foosball, but with hockey players. I'm ranked 26 in the country. I play in national tournaments, local tournaments, and a weekly league here in St. Louis. I think I'm uniquely qualified to teach ethics at DmAcc. I have taught for years general philosophical ethics, business ethics, medical ethics. I've developed a criminal justice ethics course years ago. I've published some articles on entrapment. I would like to bring all of this into the ethics course at DmAcc and the Intro to Philosophy course. Why DmAcc? It's a community college. All three of my siblings graduated from community colleges and went on to get master's degrees. My sister got a master's degree in nursing. My one brother, engineering. The other economics, and he taught for a while adjunct at a community college. My dad was a high school history teacher. He taught decades as an adjunct at a community college. I've taught full and part-time at a community college for decades. I know firsthand that the community college might be the last bastion for upward social mobility in the United States. That's not hyperbolic. I had a good time last semester at DmAcc. I had two sections to teach online. One was ethics and the other was Intro to Philosophy. What made my online experience very unique was I had a class with 17 dual enrolled students, which initially freaked me out because how on earth, I thought, am I going to teach 17 high schoolers? What will I have to do differently with the class? Well, fortunately, I didn't have to do much. I found the high schoolers actually, in some sense, it's more academic than the mainstream students. It was more getting the students to hand in their work on time. Don't use AI when you're freaked out. How do I know? Well, you mentioned Foucault and Wittgenstein in your discussion. That's usually a red flag for me. They're red flags anyway. But overall, I found them more open-minded and flexible and adjust to philosophy just as well or better than the mainstream students. I look forward to this at DmAcc. I want more dual enrolled students. My philosophy of teaching. I keep myself out of it, or I try to keep my ideology out of it. I don't want students conforming to my views because I'm the instructor, and I don't want them being contrarian because I'm the instructor. I want them to develop their ethical worldviews on their own. Usually I found over the years, students don't change their ethical views much from when they start a class till they exit the class. For instance, I have libertarians in class. I don't like libertarianism, but I hope a would-be libertarian leaves my class being able to express their view more elaborately, with less social media type talk, with less emotion, that they could explain it in a very premise by premise way. They know and will acknowledge that there's problems with their view. They should be able to express also their views of their opponents, and they will know the opponents too have flaws in their views. If they leave the class with this ability, they'll sound like college students. Imagine that. I think that's something we all hope for. Now, coming up on Wednesday, you, the committee, I assume will be mock students in my teaching demonstration. And I'm going to approach this demonstration like I would any section of ethics where I introduce a new topic. I want to refresh the students on some basic ethical theory quickly, because the students are just walking in the class and plopping down. I want to get the ball rolling a little bit, refresh them. So there will be ever so brief presentation of Kant, O'Neill, who's a different deontologist, and act and rule utility. I will then ask you, the class, to apply these theories to a scenario. And the scenario will be an autonomous man or woman sells sexual favors to an autonomous client. Simple. I'll ask the students, probably a hand raised or something, hey, what would Kant say here? Would Kant agree with this, true or false? Why or why not? What would O'Neill say here? Would she agree with the scenario, why or why not? And so on and so forth with the act and rule utility. I want to give the students an initial talk and some theory that they'll come back to. In a perfect world, and this won't be a perfect world because it's only a 15-minute presentation, I would bring in on this initial discussion an expert from sociology, maybe, from DmAcc, or a friend of mine, Andrea Nichols, who's an expert on sex trafficking. I would have her talk on what the differences between the terms sex worker, prostitute, what is sex trafficking, how does autonomy play into all of this, maybe a discussion of self-determinism. And after Andrea's questions back and forth with the students, I would try to tie in the previous discussion to what's been discussed. Time permitting, in a real-life class, I would start prepping the students for the next readings. What I find interesting here is that the text, the anthology I use, I think is an excellent one. It's the Kahn Exploring Ethics anthology. The one major flaw I find with it is the section on prostitution. For the very fact, they seem to emphasize the term prostitution and seldomly, if ever, mention the word sex worker or use that concept. I find the articles a little outdated. And I would take this initial discussion as a golden opportunity for the students to build some ammunition to criticize the readings coming up in the anthology. So this is my goal with this class, is to introduce you to this Wednesday, and I look forward to this opportunity, and thank you so much.